Hi, my name is Selena, and I want to talk to you guys about poverty. I want to discuss throughout the speech what poverty is, who it affects, how they ended up in these situations, and what we can do to help them. Now, according to the World Bank Organization, nearly half of the world's population lives in poverty, and about 10% lives in extreme poverty. This is around less than $2 a day. So what are we sitting here doing when about nearly half the world's population lives in poverty? Poverty is like a raging wildfire. Once it starts, it's hard to put out, and even after you do, it takes a long time to build up from that. And this is also the case with poverty. Now, I want you to imagine you're making less than $2 a day. This is killing a child an estimated 15 minutes. So by the end of the speech, about 18 children will have died as a result of living in poverty. Now I want you to imagine you don't have any medical treatment, any vaccines. This is killing an estimated 170,000 children right now as I speak. And not having access to clean drinking water kills about 300,000 children every single month. This is all a case of living in poverty. Now, nearly half the world's population lives in poverty, and around 15 million people die every single year as a result of living in poverty. Now, what are we sitting here doing? Nearly half the world's population lives in poverty. I want to discuss with you guys what poverty is to begin with. A lot of people think poverty is just, not having enough money, but it can be not having shelter, not having proper medical treatment, and not having food. It's also lacking of certain materials and money. Now, there is no specific look or race to who lives in poverty. It could be your next door neighbor for all you know. You don't know anything about them, and they don't know anything about you. Now, how did these people end up in poverty? There are many ways people could end up in poverty. They could have been born into a poor family, as when you're born into a poor family, the cycle typically repeats itself and it's really hard to break. Or it could be you were a war vet, you got injured and you came back and you couldn't find work. Because you couldn't find work, you're ending up on the streets. You can't afford a car or housing or even food or medical treatment. And this is the case with a lot of our vets here in the United States. However, there could be an unexpected burden that comes upon your family. A car accident, or maybe your house burns down. You never know. And because of these financial situations, you end up in a situation where you have no money because you're putting it all towards these costs. Now, poverty can lead to many things, such as crime, arranged marriages, malnutrition, physical and mental health, drug abuse, addictions, and lack of education, and sometimes even death. The way it could affect your mental health is, according to Cornell University, children who grow up in poor situations tend to be more antisocial, and they tend to have more aggressive behavior than those who grow up with wealthier families. Now, in addition, arranged marriages. According to girlsnotbrides.org, more than 50% of girls from the poorest families in developing countries are more likely to get married when they're around the ages of 6 to 18 than girls who are from wealthier families. Girls who are from the poorest parts of the world are also 3 times more likely to get into arranged marriages than girls who are not. Now I want you to imagine that you're a family from India. Your parents are making an average of 90 cents a day. It seems pretty appealing to marry your daughter off because, hey, that's one less mouth to feed. These girls can be as young as 8, or they could be as old as us. The possibility of going to school and having a future in the career is automatically gripped from them when they are put in these situations, all because their families grow up in poor situations. Now, drug abuse. People tend to think, if you're poor, how can you afford drugs? Well, once you start an addiction, it's really hard to end. You end up taking all your money and putting it towards drugs. Or if you're already in a poor situation, you could be looking for an outlet. How can I get out of thinking of my poor situation? I'm always depressed. I'm always thinking about how poor I am. Let me drink my problems away, or, let me do crack to forget about them. These are these people's solutions. I'm not saying it's the best ones, but it's what they have to cope because they don't have the resources that they need. And we need to do something about that. Lastly, how do we stop this? How do we keep children in school and girls as daughters and not brides? And keep people from stealing because it's their only way of obtaining something that they need? Well, I have a simple answer for that. Now I want to ask you guys, when was the last time you threw something out that, was expired, something you could have taken to a shelter? You could have taken that to a charity if you knew you weren't going to eat it. According to American Progress, it would take $175 billion to end world poverty a year. That's less than 1% of the combined income of the richest countries in the world. Something else you could do is give free access to healthcare in poorer countries. You know, a lot of countries do it, and it would take more taxes, but in the end, it would keep a lot of people off the streets, and it would keep a lot more people healthy and alive. It would also help diseases from spreading. Now, one more simple thing that we could do is provide more jobs, not only more jobs, but a higher minimum wage. This would keep more people in their career, and it would also keep them making more money and helping them afford more things that they need and afford financial burdens. Now, how poverty affects people and how you can attempt to end it. Now, you may go out and try and help organizations, a charity, or an association. You could simply volunteer